Members of the committee, members of the delegation from the Republic of Indonesia, ladies and gentlemen. I call to order the 613th meeting of the Committee for the Protection of All Migrant Workers and Members of Their Families. The committee will consider Agenda Item 5, consideration of the report submitted by state parties pursuant to Article 73 of the Convention. This morning, the committee, in a public session, will continue with its consideration of the second periodic report. I would now like to give the floor to Madam Indi Surya Navitri, the Director of Human Rights and Migration Issues with the Ministry of Affairs, who is tasked with moderating the replies to the questions asked by the rapporteurs and committee members. You have the floor, Madam. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
And a very good morning to all of us, to all the members of the committee, as well as the members of the delegation of the Republic of Indonesia. It is indeed an honor for all of us to be back here to continue our constructive dialogue this morning. And although it is raining hard here in Geneva, but we believe that and our commitment to continue the dialogue and, of course, to answer more questions, concerns, as well as observations coming from the members of the committee. With your permission, Madam Chair, as well as our DG, as our alternate head of delegation, we would like to continue with the following observations, as well as our comments with regards to questions relevant to the implementation of Global Compact on Migration. Global Compact for Migration. I keep making mistakes on that, excuse me. But of course, furthermore, we will be answering and providing more updates and questions as well with regards to online scamming, access to justice, complaint mechanism and procedures that we have, and pathway to regular migrations, coordination among all the relevant stakeholders in Indonesia within the governments as well as non-governmental structures, and more from the questions that we have received yesterday. And if I may begin to provide that, Madam Chair, I would like to appreciate again the opportunity to clarify on how our national implementation of the Global Compact for Migration is carried out, and also how it aligns with our commitments under the International Convention on the protection of the rights of all migrant workers and members of their families as complementary and mutually reinforcing instruments. And therefore, while the CMW or the Convention provides a legally binding framework centered on the protection of migrant workers and their families, the GCM offers a comprehensive cooperation platform addressing migration governance, data, labor mobility, development linkages, as well as international partnerships and beyond. So Indonesia does not regard them as separate pathways because it should be complementary, and rather the GCM acts as an operational roadmap that advances the rights-based approach and rights-based principles enshrined in the convention. And as mentioned in the opening statements yesterday, Madam Chair, members of the committee, with the formation of the new government, migration governance in Indonesia has been elevated in priority. Now we have a dedicated ministry for the protection of Indonesian migrant workers and newly established Ministry of Immigration and Corrections to strengthen the upstream migration governance, including data collection, border system, and institutional coordination. Of course, all of these requires more commitment from these relevant stakeholders, and more works and progress are on the line. So Indonesia has also aligned the objectives of the GCM with national development. Our priorities in development, particularly as enshrined in the President and Vice President's Asacita It's like our 8 principles for focus on development, emphasizing our Pancasila, as well as democracy, human rights, poverty reductions, and community-centered development, among others. Our program across the migration cycle, pre-departure, placement, as well as return, that serves as a functional national action framework for GCM implementation. So these initiatives directly support the GCM objectives on consular protections, inclusion, diaspora engagement, reducing remittance costs, and portability of social security. Moreover, Madam Chair, Indonesia's leadership as one of the 33 GCM champion countries reinforces our commitment. Well, it comes with responsibility, not only a title, of all migrant workers and the family. Moreover, Indonesia is currently in the process of developing a national action framework or national action plan for implementing the Global Compact for Migration, which we refers as NAP or National Action Plan, GCM. This framework is being designed as a coordinated mechanism that will allow ministries, local governments at the provincial agencies, as well as cities, and even at the subnational level, and non-governmental partnership to translate GCM commitments into concrete and measurable action. So rather than creating a separate standalone plan, we intend to integrate the GCM objectives directly into existing national development strategies and sectoral policies, ensuring that we have the coherence, we keep the commitment, and as well as sustainability and proper budget alignment once the framework is finalized. So this is a work in progress, Madam Chair and members of the committee. The draft structure of the National Action Plan will follow the full migration cycle. So it will start at the pre-departure stage, which will reinforce safe recruitment, strengthen identity verification, improve training and labor market information, as well as make use of the integrated service centers and digital contract tracking systems. For the replacement stage, the framework will further enhance consular services, strengthen grievances mechanisms, and expand community protection networks, as well as deepen cooperation with the host countries and employers, including through improved bilateral labor agreements. For the return and reintegration, which is also as important as the other cycle, it will outline more structured supports, such as skills recognitions, job matching, entrepreneurship programs, and community-based reintegration initiatives led by local governments. So these are the central element of the forthcoming plan. So together with Indonesia Data Hub, and at later stage, development academic review forum, which will be held in New York, and review forum, which will be held in New York, and the practices that we have done, but also try to find a solution on many of the remaining challenges that we face on the ground. And with this, we sincerely hope that the implementation remains grounded, real, focus on the solution based on the real needs, real problems, solution based on the real needs, real problems, and real data, and align with the GCM's cooperative spirits. Information or updates from the chair, or the objectives of the chair to Mr. Todi, Mr. Todi. Mr. DG, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Madam Director. Good morning. Previous discussion, some of the members of the committee asking for the situation, the issue, especially government of Indonesia provide all of the information for this to Indonesia views the rise of online job scams and digital-based trafficking in Southeast Asia as an urgent and deeply distressing development. The situation has caused profound pain for Indonesia, as thousands of our citizens affect our national conscience. For this reason, Indonesia strongly calls for broader international cooperation to suppress this rapidly expanding transnational crime. Allow me to present Indonesia measure and the scale of the problem based on verified data that we have. First, Indonesia has intensified cross-border law enforcement cooperation, working closely with police agencies, immigration authorities, and international organizations such as IOM and IODC. Indonesia has also identified and prosecuted domestic recruiters connected to syndicates operating in Cambodia and Myanmar. Second one, the protection and repatriation of Indonesian citizens is a top priority. Cases handled by our embassy in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, rose sharply from 15 cases in 2020 to 30 cases by September 2025, with over 80% linked to online scam compound. Our ministry, the Ministry of Indonesia Migrant Protection, has handled 282 cases from Cambodia this year only, including trafficking indicators, illegal recruitment, contract violation, and unexplained deaths. This escalation reflects the dramatic rise in Indonesia arrival to Cambodia from 14,564 arrival in 2020, you can imagine, rose to 95 people in 2024. Cambodian immigration record also shows that 184 Indonesians held long-term visas in 2024, and 102,150 Indonesians were still residing in Cambodia as of August 2025. Many of them entered on tourist visas. This is the problem, because as I already mentioned yesterday, 11 countries in Asian countries has a reciprocal commitment to not have a free visa. So they can visit each country without visa for a visit, short-term visit, 30 days. So later they visit Cambodia, they convert their visit visa into business or long-term stay permit. It is estimated that 87,000 Indonesians currently hold work permit in Cambodia, though many are in fact trapped in illegal digital operations such as scam centers and online gambling hubs. Inside this compound, I can explain some of them based on our evidence visit the victim. Victim endured 12 to 16 hours work day, passport confiscation, coercion, restricted movement, and physical violence. Indonesia is deeply saddened by the rising death toll from 1 Indonesia death in 2020, it is the same time in pandemic, to 110 deaths as of early October 2025. Many believe to be linked to exploitative and dangerous working conditions. And the third one, Indonesia has expanded its prevention and early detection effort, including broad public awareness initiative, tighter oversight of irregular migration routes, and enhanced cyber patrol conducted jointly with national cyber authorities and digital platforms. Through this cyber patrol, the social media identifies fake job advertisement circulated through Facebook, Telegram, TikTok, and etc., and disrupt online channel used by syndicate to lure victims. And the fourth one, Indonesia continues to face legal and operational challenges in destination countries. Victims found in scam compounds are sometimes treated as cybercrime offenders. In November 2025, 106 Indonesians were detained in Phnom Penh and Indonesia is working to ensure that they are recognized as victims. And at the same time, strict post-repatriation screening is applied, as a small number knowingly join syndicates. Among 26 Indonesians repatriated from Myanmar in October this year, one was identified as a recruiter and is now under investigation in Indonesia. Despite these challenges, Indonesia remains fully committed to protecting victims, ensuring accountability and strengthening legal clarity between victim and perpetrator. I think from me, that's enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. DG, we would like to invite Todi Baskor to provide more information on this.
Thank you, Director Indah. Madam Chair, distinguished committees, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to address more specifically regarding the handling of cases by missions, Indonesian missions in several countries. Since 2021, a trend has emerged involving the recruitment of Indonesian nationals for online scams with indication of human trafficking. This modus operandi has escalated in 2022 and spread to other Southeast Asian countries. To address the case in Cambodia, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs sent 6 technical assistant teams to support Indonesian Embassy in Phnom Penh in handling the case. Moreover, during the period of 2021 through September 2025, Indonesian missions in 10 countries handled a total of 12,565 cases of online scam-related incidents. The highest number of cases was recorded in Cambodia, with 7,623 cases, followed by Thailand with 1,919 cases, and Myanmar with 1,201 cases. Outside the Asian region, 52 cases were recorded in Belarus and 7 cases in South Africa. A total of 422 Indonesian migrant workers in Cambodia were repatriated at state expense in 11 repatriation waves from August to December 2022. Effort to address the case in Cambodia in 2022 cost at least 6 billion rupiah, or approximately $375,000 with the current rate. We also, in close cooperation with the local authorities in Cambodia and also Myanmar in handling the repatriations, we support the authorities by providing a sufficient document and also provide the Indonesian national with travel documents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then, of course, in addition to that, Madam Chair, members of the committee, the Ministry of Communication and Informatics of Indonesia has also provided a complaint service for fraudulent content on websites, digital platforms, as well as social media. So we have what we call www.aduancontent.id. This is like a website that we can use. And furthermore, Ministry of Communication and Informatics has also established a mechanism for checking and reporting bank accounts suspected of fraud through another website called checkrekening.id. So there are various platforms and various works done by many relevant ministries. And of course, again, it's not enough at some point, and we continue to work in addressing that. Madam Chair, and then members of the committee, we would now like to invite Mr. Temanenga to provide more updates on the access to justice, to be followed by answers regarding complaint mechanisms with Dirjen Harniati.
Thank you, Madam Dear. Distinguished Madam Chair, and Law number 18, 2017, enhanced access to justice for Indonesian migrant workers by guaranteeing their rights to legal protection throughout the migration process. This law requires the government to provide clear work contracts, execute our representative abroad, or right violation through administrative, civil, or criminal processes, supported by shelter and integrated service. Overall, this law creates a stronger and more accountable system that enables migrant workers to seek protection and fair resolution when their rights are threatened. Indonesia also guaranteed the right to consular assistance for every citizen to receive protection and assistance from their country's representative abroad, covering matters such as passport, visa, and immigration assistance. This right is also regulated by international law, especially 1963 Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, which ratified through Law Number 1, 1982. Through our Directorate of Consular Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, delivers consular notification to foreign mission in Indonesia and facilitate communication with the relevant authorities in case involving foreign nationals who have passed away or are being held by law enforcement authorities. The right to obtain consular assistance is also explicitly stated in Article 21, Paragraph 1 of Law Number 8 of 2017, which includes the right one entitled to while working. This also includes assistance, mediation, advocacy, and legal assistance in the form of legal services provided by central government or representative of the Indonesian abroad, as well as guardianship in accordance with local law. The government also established close cooperation through bilateral consular consultation meetings with 8 partner countries held on regular basis, 6 of which serve as major destinations for Indonesian migrant workers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Madam Director. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Director. Good morning, everybody. I would like to deliberate on complaint mechanism conducted by Ministry of Human Rights related to migrant workers' complaint. The Ministry of Human Rights is improving access to remedy by providing human rights complaint service as a dedicated human rights communication service. The Ministry has established 33 complaint posts in regional offices and technical implementation units and is collaborating with the other social and public facilities such as churches and traditional institutions. From this mechanism, since 2020 to 2024, the Human Rights Complaint Service received approximately 4,604 complaints through the, we call it Simas HAM online platform or directly at the complaint post. Of the total complaint received, 11 related to migrant workers' rights. As follow-up, the Ministry conduct administrative and substantive assessment, we call it mediation mechanism, and coordinate these complaints with relevant stakeholders, including relevant ministers and institutions, the police and provincial government. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We'll continue regarding the issue that we are talking yesterday discussion regarding the handling complaint and how the government take care the issue from the migrant worker. Madam Chair and member, every complaint submitted by the prospective Indonesian migrant worker or Indonesian migrant worker reflect the public's trust in the state. This is a thing that we have to highlight. To uphold this trust, the government provide a complaint handling mechanism that is swift, transparent, and accessible through both in-person services and non-face-to-face channel, such as what we are use majority today, using WhatsApp, social media, of course, and other official platform. Once a report is received, officer immediately conduct identification and an initial assessment. Within 1 day, we promise for 1 day, the complainant receive a case number, a unique number that they can track the number, like we order something online and then we have a tracking number, and we can use that number to tracking how the progress of the report it is. And a link to monitor, of course, the progress of their case. This ensures that every migrant worker complete up to 30 days. So we don't have to push them to complete in 1 day, because we understand that they have to put all of the document like passport or etc. So we give them at least 30 days to complete them, supported by periodic reminder from both the system and officer. Once the documentation is complete and the case meet the criteria, the team seek approval from the leadership and forward the case to the problem handling team. At this stage, the government provides a range of intervention, from legal or labor consultation, facilitation of social security or insurance claim, clarification to mediation. If this issue cannot be resolved through non-litigation channels, and there are indications of a criminal act, or if the complainant opts for legal proceeding, the government ensure continue litigation assistance. Some cases require the authority for other institutions. To address this, referral mechanisms are available within the ministry and to relevant ministry other and or agency, so that each issue is handled by the institution with the appropriate mandate. Upon completion of the handling process, the case is formally closed with comprehensive documentation. All services are provided without distinction regarding migrant worker status. Either they are regular or whether they are also regular or irregular. Data show that 82.6% of assistance concern non-procedural migrant worker, Indonesia migrant worker, underscoring that government protection is not limited to those. Through a comprehensive, responsive, and traceable mechanism, the government demonstrates that protecting migrant worker, Indonesia migrant worker, is a continuous and concrete effort. To ensure that issues uncovered through broader supervision and sanction mechanism. This allows finding from grievance resolution to fit directly into corrective and enforcement action when regulatory violations are identified. I think from me, yeah, thank you.
Chair, distinguished committee, I would like to have additional information about complaint mechanism in Indonesian missions regarding the service and protections. We have provided various channels by hotline, phone number. We also provide emails, and also we have provide the complaint mechanism in Portal Peduli, and also have a survey, customer satisfactory surveys, and which is collect daily, and we have also have the monitoring and evaluations of the satisfactory customer survey by the Directorate of Protections of Indonesian Nationals abroad. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think we will now move to the cluster of the issues with regards to pathway from irregular to regular migration. And again, I would like to invite DG Rinardi for that.
Okay, thank you, Madam Director. As we also handling with the what we call dealing with the issuing the article that we can use for register all of the unprocedural or unregistered or undocumented migrant workers to be documented. the government of Indonesia recognized that collecting accurate data on irregular Indonesia migrant workers remain a structural challenge within the national migration governance system. Irregular departure often occur outside formal migration channel through unmonitored coastal roads, small informal port, or remote forested border areas, which result in the absence. Even aggregate data is not consistently published or shared by all countries. For this reason, the accuracy of data collection is highly dependent on the strength of bilateral cooperation and the willingness of destination countries to exchange information in a safe and structured manner. Despite this limitation, we also to strengthen that Indonesian workers who migrated regularly with preparation phase before full implementation. One key advancement under this regulation is the establishment of an overseas Indonesia migrant worker data collection mechanism through a Halo Migran system, which is fully integrated with our system, what we call as in Indonesia. This mechanism enables Indonesia migrant workers, including those who departed irregularly, to register their identity, upload available supporting document, and undergo verification by Indonesian mission abroad, as well as the Minister Regional Service unit in their area of their origin. The government plans to begin implementation through a pilot project in Malaysia next year as the first partner country. And importantly, through this process, Indonesia migrant workers who were previously categorized as non-procedural under Indonesia regulation may have the opportunity to become fully procedural migrant workers, provided they meet all requirements outlined in Regulation Number 27, year 2025. While this mechanism does not change the worker immigration status in the host country, it is still ensured that they are recorded in the government system and may transition to full procedural status once our required verification and compliance steps are completed. This inclusion also allows workers to access essential protection services, legal assistance, emergency repatriation, and reintegration or empowerment program upon return. Verification by Indonesian mission abroad serves as an important step toward building a more comprehensive data set on irregular Indonesian migrant workers. The government acknowledges, however, that such verification is limited by the worker's ability to present valid documentation. To reach those in more vulnerable situations, Indonesia has strengthened the role of its mission by facilitating manual data collection, conducting outreach visits to worker communities, and expanding access to information services through citizen service unit. To better understand the scale of irregular migration, maybe I can give us for some example. Indonesia used measurable indicators such as the number of irregular departure attempts prevented by our ministry, the Ministry of Immigration and Law Enforcement Agency, as well as the number of deportation from destination country. Although these indicators do not represent the exact number of irregular Indonesia migrant workers, they still provide a clear picture of the continued pressure and risk associated with irregular migration route. These insights are used to map high-risk departure corridor and migration patterns that require targeted intervention. Through this effort, the government of Indonesia reaffirmed that data collection and protection measures apply not only to those who migrate through regular channels, but also to those who travel irregularly and are often the most vulnerable in destination countries. Indonesia remains committed to strengthening this mechanism to ensure that all Indonesian migrant workers, regardless their migration pathway, remain within the reach of the state protection. From me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Director. Ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chair and distinguished member, allow me to present about increased awareness or safe migration campaign, particularly through the implementation of the pre-employment orientation program. In October 2025, officially KP2MI launched the pre-employment orientation initiative as part of our national effort to promote safe, orderly, and well-governed migration. Although newly initiated, the program has already reached 15 regencies, covering 684 villages and engaging 1,430 village authorities across the country. This program is designed to strengthen the capacity of village authorities who serve the closest link to prospective migrant workers. Under Law Number 18 of 2017, village authorities play a vital role in migration governance. Their responsibilities include verifying migrant data, facilitating civil documentation, monitoring departures and return, and supporting the empowerment of migrant workers and their families. Through the pre-employment orientation program, these authorities are not only recipients of information but also become key actors in disseminating accurate knowledge on safe migration procedures. This is essential in preventing irregular migration and protecting our citizens from exploitation. Looking ahead, we aim to scale up this initiative by introducing a training of trainers program for village authorities that will enable them to serve the first point of contact for prospective migrant workers, ensuring that candidate migrant workers receive credible, timely, and comprehensive information before entering the migration process. Our approach is aligned with the four-stage orientation framework promoted by international partners such as IOM. This includes pre-implementation orientation, pre-departure orientation, post-arrival orientation, and pre-return orientation. To date, the pre-employment component has been delivered together with ILO and IOM and SBME, ensuring that frontline authorities receive standardized and accurate training materials. Beyond capacity building, the government has also expanded its public information strategy. On our flagship initiative is the Desa Migran Emas, or Golden Migrant Village program. This community-based model empower village authorities to serve as frontline providers of safe migration information, offering verified associated with irregular recruitment. Desa Migran Emas also function as an information and referral center for pre-departure preparation and official grievance mechanism. Going forward, KP2MI is committed to enhance this ecosystem through the development of new regulation that will establish a more systematic evaluation mechanism for pre-departure training. This improvement will include measurable assessment tools, strengthen instructor qualification, enhanced monitoring, and more effective follow-up mechanism. We also plan to broaden digital outreach and deepen collaboration with village authorities.
Thank you. And then now we would like to move to the questions regarding infrastructures at our missions abroad, handling the issues related to migrant workers. For that, Mr. Todi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Director Indah, Madam Chairs, distinguished committees. I would like to address the how the Indonesian missions handling cases related to migrant workers. As first responders, the missions of Indonesia are mandated to provide immediate consular assistance and to engage with the competent authorities of the receiving state to ensure the protection of the rights of Indonesian nationals. The handling of cases involving Indonesian in conflict with local laws is undertaken without presuming their criminal or civil liabilities and with full respect for domestic legal framework of the host state and as well as applicable international law. For vulnerable groups, including women and children, Indonesian missions endeavor to provide shelter facilities when required or to coordinate their placement in shelter operated by local authorities. At present, 19 Indonesian missions abroad are equipped with temporary shelter facilities, the majority of which are designated for women and children. 19 temporary shelters are located in missions in Kuala Lumpur, Johor Bahru, Penang, Kuching, Kota Kinabalu, Tawau, Singapore, Bandar Seri Begawan, Riyadh, Jeddah, Dubai, Baghdad, Cairo, Tokyo, Cape Town, Muscat, Manama, Beirut, and Taipei. To ensure uniform and accountable service delivery in the administrations of these facilities, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has issued the guidelines for the management of temporary shelters at Indonesian missions abroad, promulgated through the decree of the Minister of Foreign Affairs number 46/B/PK/09/2023/01 of 2023. These guidelines serve as comprehensive reference for the governance of temporary shelters, including the establishment of operational standards, the development of more measurable budget planning processes, and the strengthening of monitoring and evaluation mechanism. They further prescribe norms related to human resources management and training for personnel assigned to operate the shelters. As part of broader institutional strengthening effort to ensure more effective protection and service for Indonesian nationals, a total of 29 Indonesian missions have been designated as integrated protection missions in 2025. The 29 missions are missions in Ankara, Bandar Seri Begawan, Bangkok, Damascus, Den Haag, Doha, Hanoi, Cairo, Kuala Lumpur, Kuwait City, Colombo, Manila, Phnom Penh, Riyadh Baru, Kota Kinabalu, Kuching, New York, Penang, and Tawau. This designation was conferred through the decree of the Minister of Foreign Affairs number 15/B/PK/01/2025/01 of 2025 concerning the designation of integrated protection missions. The determination of such status is based on the volume of cases involving Indonesian nationals, including migrant workers, handled by the respective missions, as well as the scale of consular services provided to Indonesian citizens in the countries of accreditations. To ensure the effective operationalization of this system, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has promulgated the technical guidelines for Indonesia's integrated protection missions through the decree of Minister of Foreign Affairs number 16/B/PK/01/2025. These technical guidelines constitute an authoritative framework for strengthening Indonesia's overall protection architecture, including the enhancement and professional development of the human resources entrusted with protocols and directives set forth there.
Indonesia for our citizens overseas and responding to racism, xenophobia, discrimination, and any form of ill treatment or violence, ensuring to be a core national priority. Thank you.
With regard to issue of disabilities, Legal Basic Article number 18 of Law of 2017, Article number 9 of Presidential Regulation number 113 of 2024, Law number 8 of 2016 on persons with disabilities. Authority and mandate Ministry of Protection of Indonesian migrant worker provide medical rehabilitation, compensation, and reintegration for injured or disabled returns. Implementation, BPJS, Social Security Agency, insurance cover workplace injured shelter provide psychotherapy, assistive tools, and reintegration training. 118 sick disabled migrant worker Indonesia were cited in 2025. Challengers and follow-up facilities still lacks accessibility standard. Ministry of Protection of Indonesia migrant worker law and ensure all staff complete disability inclusive service training. The Ministry of Manpower has the authority to provide protection for Indonesian migrant workers who experience occupational accident in their country of employment, as mandated by the Ministry of Manpower Regulation number 4 of 2023 on social protection for as well as for their families. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then now we would also like to provide answers and updates with regards to question on the coordination among ministries as well as with other stakeholders, which includes our civil societies, our national human rights institutions, and communities as a whole. For that, I would like to give the floor for DG Rinardi, DG Harniati, and Madam Royhatul Aswida for that. So we continue with DG Harniati first for the coordination. Okay, and we'll start with Ibu Royhatul first.
Thank you, Madam Director. Thank you. Sorry.
No, we're good.
Is it on? Thank you, Madam Director. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. Good morning, all of the members of the committees. I would like to share the information on the role of the CSO, the civil society organization, and also the national human rights institutions. To strengthen and expand protection for migrant workers and their families, the Indonesian government also collaborates with various civil society organizations and other social partners, including the UN organizations, IOM, and also UNICEF. Here, many community organizations have a very important role, as information on complaints is often obtained from community organizations. Many of community organizations assist migrant workers in filing complaints and participate in resolving migrant workers' complaints, typically by assisting them with document completion and also assisting them during clarification and mediation. Here it's also important by the government and the national human rights recommendation to related institutions. Madam Director, Madam Chairperson, and also members of the committee, I will also take the opportunity to respond to the question on gender representation and minority group representation in Komnas HAM raised yesterday. The current Human Rights Commission consists of 8 commissioners, 3 of whom are women, compared to only 1 woman out of 7 in the previous period, reflecting concrete progress in gender representation. The Human Rights Commission also previously included 1 commissioner with disabilities who recently resigned for personal reasons. These developments reflect Indonesia's continued efforts to enhance diversity and strengthen representation, including of women and minority groups, in line with previous recommendations to ensure effectiveness in accordance with. So share information on the NPM raised by Madam Zumhur yesterday of the optional protocol of the Convention Against Torture, even without relying on a formal OPCAT framework. The system functions through the Komnas Perempuan, the Women Commission, Children Commission, the Ombudsman, and the Witness and Victim Protection Agency. Working collectively, this institution, this mechanism has formed a coordinated, independent mechanism that resembles, has been able to work closely with the government institutions. In the period of 2019 to 2024, 7 correctional facilities were visited, including 5 correctional facilities in Papua and 3 correctional facilities in South Sulawesi, and also Kupang Immigration Detention Center in East Nusa Tenggara. It should be noted also that in 2022, Women Commission also monitored the placement practices of Indonesian female migrant workers in 5 overseas training centers. And thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Director.
Thank you, Director, Madam Chair, and all distinguished members. Let me share more information how Indonesian coordination mechanism supported in business and human rights program. Indonesia uphold the principles on business and human rights. The National Strategy on Business and Human Rights has been issued through Presidential Regulation Number 60 of 2023 as a policy framework to integrate human rights protection into business activities aligned with the UN Guiding Principle on Business and Human Rights. The strategy focused on 3 pillars. Firstly, the state's duty to protect human rights. Secondly, business responsibility to respect human rights. And last one, the right of individual to access effective remedies. The national strategy includes measures such as improving regulation, raising awareness among public and private stakeholders, and strengthening grievances mechanism. On the implementation of the national strategy on business and human rights, by 2024, 71% participation in reporting of minister agencies, local owned enterprise has conducted dissemination and training program on business and human rights for a total of 747 participants from 71 state-owned enterprises throughout Indonesia in 2024. The Ministry of Home Affairs issued a circular letter regarding the call for the involvement of local communities, we call it masyarakat adat, in business and human rights activities to all governors and region mayors in Indonesia. Ministry of Village Development of Disadvantaged Villages and Transmigration conducted dissemination and training to village-owned enterprises on business and human rights in all provinces in Indonesia. Ministry of Law and Human Rights has completed and implemented guidelines for dissemination business and human rights to ministry agencies, guidelines for the implementation of PRISMA, business and human risk assessment for business actors, technical guidance to 38 provinces and 70 ministerial institutions along with non-government partners regarding national strategy for business and human rights. In implementation, the companies, which is voluntary mechanism, with the increase of over 100 companies in the past year. Dissemination has been conducted regarding gender bullying prevention, child labor prevention, youth participation, and environment. Ministry of Health has a healthy and productive women worker movement program across all Indonesian provinces. And as a result, 1,497 companies that have national policies on labor protection, socialization and dissemination on information related to child labor prevention to 390 participation from company representative, NGOs, government agencies, and vocational school, and guidelines for the prevention and handling of sexual violence in the workplace. Ministry of Communication and Informatics has produced 292 pieces of content and dissemination information related business and human rights through various channels. Ministry of Cooperative and Small Medium Enterprise has conducted outreach to over 100 SMEs representatives regarding the implementation of National Strategy for Business and Human Rights. Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy has conducted outreach to more than 30 accommodation companies regarding ministerial regulation concerning business activity standard. And Ministry of Women Empowerment and Child Protection has prepared and disseminated technical guidelines for the provision and service standard for women workers and employees protection housing in the workplace. Ministry of Trade has conducted training for SMEs integrating business and human rights perspective. The Witness and Victim Protection Agency has developed and disseminated technical guidelines for the implementation of rehabilitation and psychological assistance for victims of crime, including namely 2026 massive outreach, intensive coordination, strengthening of the Ministry of Human Rights regional offices, piloting and mentoring and development of Prisma platform. 2027 implementation of human rights due diligence, piloting and mentoring, and the last 2028 through 2029 business actors implemented human rights due diligence. Thank you.
Yeah, to coordinating between the government, central government, and all other ministries in central government. At the national level, migrant worker protection, foreign affairs, and immigration authorities and law enforcement agencies, local government, and other relevant ministries. Ministry of Immigration plays a critical frontline role by preventing irregular departure through strengthened checks, document verification, risk pattern detection, and alignment of departure data with technical agencies. This ensures that protection effectively begins at Indonesia's point of exit. Interagency coordination also under scheme with government of Japan, protection framework with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the domestic worker arrangement with Malaysia. This arrangement establishes clear standards of protection, including standardized contract, clarity on wages and working hour, communication right, and accessible grievance and dispute resolution mechanism. And on the other hand, in destination countries, protection is strengthened through the services of Indonesian mission abroad, which operate in close coordination with the Ministry of Indonesia Migrant Protection, immigration authorities, and technical institutions at home. Mission provide legal assistance, labor dispute mediation, emergency support, prison visit, and temporary shelter for workers requiring immediate protection. Strong and continuous coordination ensure cases are addressed swiftly, proportionately, and in accordance with the specific needs of each worker. The Ministry of Migrant Workers function as the national authority responsible for developing regulation and overseeing overall policy implementation. Operational execution is delegated to our line office in the region, which act as the ministerial technical arm to ensure consistent application of national standards across all regions. Throughout Indonesia and regional office minister work in direct coordination with local government to conduct migrant registration, prevent irregular migration, facilitate pre-departure preparation, handle cases, and manage return and reintegration process. This creates a coherent linkage between national policy making and local level service delivery. Thank you.
With your permission and your indulgence, Madam Chair, we have two big clusters that we'd like to address before we are giving back the floor to you, Madam Chair, which are clustered on the ratification as well as on the statistics. And for that, I will provide some information on the CPED, the process that we have had, and at later stage on the ILO convention, we will invite Mr. Kama, Madam Erlina, and Mr. Fadil to answer that. And with regards to the process of the ratification of International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances, as questioned by the committee before, this is the last major international human rights instrument that yet to be ratified by us, by Indonesia. But for sure, CPED has been prioritized in line with the recommendation from previous universal periodic review cycles that we have in 2017 and 2022. So this commitment is, of course, further enhanced and evidenced in the inclusion of the process of the ratification in our National Action Plan, underscoring our dedication to fulfilling international commitments on this. The process itself have to follow the thorough process involving coordination among government ministries and relevant ministries and the parliamentary approval. I think it goes the same in so many countries as well. And the executive branch, led by the president and the relevant ministries, prepares and submits a draft bill to the House of Representatives for the deliberation and approval. Significant progress has been made with the draft bill for the CPED ratification signed by the President and the relevant ministries, and then now it has been submitted to our Parliament, marking a critical step in this legislative process. So we will continue the process and we will keep you updated, Madam Chair and members of the committee. With regards to the recommendation on ratifying the optional protocol on communication procedures and individual complaint mechanism, I think it is also important to note that Indonesia has already had individual complaint mechanisms through national human rights institutions. It is worth an observation as well as a highlights that our National Human Rights Commission, Komnas HAM, is an independent national human rights institution with A accredited status by GANRI, or the Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions. We also have Komnas Perempuan, the National Commission Against Violence Against Women, as an independent complaint mechanism, especially for violence against women, including girls' issues. And we also have National Commission on Child Protection, or KPAI, for specific individual complaints on the cases involving children. Moreover, we also have the National Commission on Persons with Disabilities, or KND, offering a formal complaint mechanism and active monitoring compliance while providing recommendations for issues related to persons with disabilities to government. We also have an extensive law complaint channel or mechanism at the Ministry of Human Rights, which has been explained by Madam Harniati before, what we call Yankoham, or Human Rights Communication Services. And again, we are more than happy to provide more details for those two big clusters. For the additional information on ILO, relevant ILO ratification, I would like to invite Mr. Kama to provide more, to be followed by Mrs. Erlina and Mr. Fadil. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Director. Allow me to briefly respond to the issue of labor inspection before moving to matters related to ILO Convention number 129. In Indonesia, labor inspection is regulated by Law number 3 of 1951 on labor inspection and Law number 13 of 2003 on manpower, which outline the range of labor norms that inspectors must monitor, from employment contracts and wages to working hours, safety standards, and social protection. Indonesia has also ratified ILO Convention number 81 concerning labor inspection in industry and commerce through Law number 21 of 2003 to further reinforce its legal framework for labor oversight. Through this framework, inspectors are empowered to conduct workplace visits, issue corrective measures, and enforce compliance when violations occur. Law number 23 of 2014 on regional government further mandates labor inspection responsibilities to provincial governments to bring inspection services closer to the ground, enabling quicker responses to complaints and more consistent enforcement across regions. These laws form a coherent system that ensures labor inspectors have both the authority and the structure needed to uphold fair and decent worker protection. Currently, Indonesia deploys a total of 1,398 labor inspectors across 130 inspectors are at provincial officers and 68 inspectors operate within provincial governments across Indonesia to carry out on-site inspections, address complaints, and ensure that the legal mandates. Given the specific technical requirements for agricultural workplaces and the shared responsibilities between central and local governments, this review is necessary to ensure that eventual implementation can be carried out effectively and sustainably. Nevertheless, labor inspection already applies across all sectors, including agriculture. Existing laws enable inspection and strengthen coordination between the enforcement and better protection for workers nationwide. Thank you, Madam.
With regards to ILO conventions, number 1, air and effective dispute resolutions mechanisms, the government has expressed clear support for integrating these principles of conventions number 189 into the Domestic Workers Protection Bill. Under this bill, as occupational safety and health standards. On ILO conventions number 190, Indonesia prioritized preventive and responsive actions in addressing violence and harassment in the workplace through a shared and cross-sectoral approach. One significant development was the enactment of Law number 2, preventing sexual violence, protecting victims, and ensuring access to justice. This law applies across sectors, including the workplace, and provides strong guarantees for protections, recovery, and prosecutions. To operationalize these provisions at the workplace level, the Ministry of Manpower issued Decree number 88 of 2023 on guidelines for preventing and handling sexual violence in the workplace. These guidelines require employers to establish preventive measures. Indonesia has complemented these efforts through government regulations number 30 of 2025 on prevention, handling, protections, 24 on coordinations and monitoring of sexual violence, preventions, and victim protections. Together, these instruments form coordinated systems that involve labor authorities, health services, law enforcement, and social support institutions. In practical terms, many of the substantive requirements of the convention, such as prevention frameworks, internal compliance mechanisms, access to legal, psychosocial support, guarantees for victim protections, are already in place within Indonesia's domestic framework. This concludes my response, Madam Director.
Thank you. Another addition for the ILO C-155, Indonesia in principle supports the strengthening of occupational safety and health, or OSH standards. Currently, OSH matters are regulated nationally, including through law on occupational safety. Furthermore, OSH remains a key priority in employment recovery, particularly for workers in high-risk environments. Existing regulations ensure that workplaces adhere to stringent safety standards, including job-related risk guarantees and protection from exploitation. At this stage, we are still conducting a comprehensive assessment before it can formally consider ratification. We believe ensuring the regulatory frameworks and institutional readiness beforehand is a must. Ratification would also require adequate budget allocation and policy harmonization among the government, employers, and trade unions. In this context, Indonesia remains open to the possibility of ratification in the future, consistent with its commitment to strengthening worker protection. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Madam Chair, members of the committee, as you know, we still have a long list of answers, but we'd like to return the floor to Madam Chair and to have the next round of the dialogue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam, the head of members of the delegations, for the answers to this question, who are very structured, and all the information that have been given so far. Allow me as well to give again the floor to the rapporteur, to the country rapporteurs for this dialogue, and as well to the expert of the committee for additional questions they may have and that they would like the delegation to address. I would like to start with Mr. Kariawasam. Kariawasam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I start substantive discussions, let me express my sympathy and solidarity with the people of Indonesia who have suffered massive floods. Just like my country, I'm from Sri Lanka, we have all suffered. But both our countries have suffered equally 2004 tsunami, and we came back very quickly, and similarly, I think we are recovering fast. But my sympathy and solidarity with the people of Indonesia on this occasion. With regard to the professional manner in which the delegation answered these questions raised by first round of constructive dialogue, provisions as best as possible, and also take care of its migrant workers and members of their families, no doubt. But as we know, challenges remain. And as we know, there are so much of hurdles to circumvent. There are hurdles, there are challenges, there's room for improvement. So our dialogue, our consultations are going in that direction. In that context, I would wish to ask you, with regard to very important questions, very important issue with regard to interagency coordination, which you have explained to some extent, but I want to be more specific in that context. Often, authorities in every country come up with new regulations, new ideas, new institutions, with the good intention of implementing the convention provisions as well as serving the migrant workers as best as possible. But it creates sometimes more challenges. Sometimes it creates little confusion for the stakeholders. So my question is in that context. Indonesian Law 18/2017, which is commendable for adopting a whole government approach to improve coordination between government agencies at every level, national, provincial, has been a good initiative. And in that context, we would like to hear from you, how are you proceeding with that law? I think there are revisions coming up. When you are doing the revisions, what is the method you are adopting? Are you ensuring that the law is in line with the letter and the spirit of this convention, which you are a very important party? And how is in that context, the one-stop service centers you have established working? Are they effective? Are you happy with the way it works, or you want to do more about it? And then you have established a dedicated Ministry on Migrant Workers Protection, KP2MI, and that is to replace or augment the how is the regulation, such as the government regulation 59/2021 and government regulation 20/2022 with regard to migrant seafarers and migrant fishers are working? And whether you are happy with its implementation or whether you are thinking of more improvement. And whether you will be able to give us more information as you are working on that. And a very important issue with regard to migrant seafarers and migrant fishers, there are two institutions working on it. That is the KP2MI and Minister of Transport. Now, how are they? Now, is it something that you are pushing these seafarers and migrant workers from pillar to post? And they are a little confused as to where to get this greater explanation with regard to the law 18/2017 and its implementation, and your plans with regard to its cyber countries to assist the thing, and you digital countries to assist the thing, and you digitalization of the processes can actually improve the service delivery for many migrant workers across the board if we handle it properly. One is, it's a challenge with regard to those who want to hack the system and those who are cheating the system through digital. Other one is the government using digitalization to make the processes easy. For instance, I want to mention in Sri Lanka, I am aware that the certification of documents for migrant workers now 90% digitalized. No migrant worker in any remote region has to come to Colombo for that. They can do it in the regional capitals. They go to the regional, and then they can. Digital processes are being used to make life easy for migrant workers, so that they don't have to travel far and wide to get their papers registered. Are you having initiatives like that? The one-stop service centers, are they fully digitalized? Or you have plans to digitalize? So the digital world we are in is challenging, but it is coming. AI is coming. We have no way to avoid that. AI will be used for good purposes and for bad purposes. So countries like you who have the talent and the capacity should be ready. And my question is, are you ready? And what are the initiatives you are taking in that? One, to use digital processes to serve the migrant workers. Second, to use platforms and units like Cyber Patrol to prevent those who want to cheat the system, those who want to abuse the system, preventing use the system. So that's a very important aspect, and its time has come for all, in fact, all migrant worker origin countries to think about that, because AI will provide opportunities both for service of migrant workers and to cheat them. So it is authorities that has to be ahead of the curve now. So what are your plans for that? Other question I have in mind is about the voting process. I want to congratulate you for establishing a law to provide migrant workers voting in countries that they are. Can you explain how you are operationalizing the provisions, especially because you have now become a very vibrant democracy in South Asia. You are a very large democracy, so it is not easy. But then, how are you handling that process? And are you your migrant workers, like in Sri Lanka too, are females, and most of them are in domestic work. And domestic work is a very challenging situation because it is between walls that's happening. It's not transparent. The abusers are not transparent. So we are having a challenge. That doesn't mean that challenge, just because challenge is there, we can't leave it aside. We have to find ways and means to protect those who are being abused. Majority of the domestic workers are not abused, that I agree, but there is a significant amount that is abused, and you have explained very well how you have set up various centers in various countries where a large number of migrant workers are living, to have safe houses for them. That's a good thing, and but in addition to that, what are the efforts you are taking with regard to having legal mechanisms established and working with like-minded countries and working with labor receiving countries to address this issue, so that domestic workers and those who are working in entertainment industry both domestic work and entertainment industry are protected all the time, and most these parties are females, and they are vulnerable and they need protection. I have another issue with regard to your process for regularizing irregular migrants and creating pathway for regularization. You explain, and it's a good initiatives. In this regard, what is the situation with regard to Rohingya refugees who may be, you can give the numbers, where you know the number, how many numbers you have. Do you have created pathways for them to find work in your country, or they are still under total protection of the UNHCR only? And if you, of course, it will be good that if you can provide them pathway for regular work, make them regular, because their issues are very substantial. So some information about Rohingya refugees and the possibility for them to work legally in your country is I would welcome. Well, I think I will stop at that. My co-rapporteur will have more questions and others. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kariawasam, for this additional question. I give now the floor to the co-rapporteur, Madame Zemmour. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and please really allow me to thank the delegation of Indonesia on very, very constructive dialogue and very comprehensive answers on our yesterday questions. And there is very small space for additional questions, but I will use this opportunity to get clarification of some of your answers. First of all, my colleague, in context of Indonesia, private actors. My second question related to that, what is the intention of your reduced control of a migration process, involvement of private actors? I know that size of your state and size of population and particularly migration process make difficulties to do more strategic approach for that, but definitely it is very important when we are speaking from human rights approach to ensure that all those actions are in accordance with international standards. I would like to thank on update related to national human rights institutions, and my congratulations that you finally increase the gender balance and involvement of inclusion of national minority person. I hope that person who resigned based on personal reasons will be recruited with other person with disability. But at the same time, I would like to ask about data, about real work of national human rights institution in migration area, and what is access of migrants abroad to national human rights institution, how they are able to communicate with you. And when we are speaking on those abroad, I'm so glad that you established those temporary shelters in missions. They are very relevant for migrants. But can you provide us with the information how much they use from migrants, maybe for others? I could explain, but as I can assess, it is more. I could explain, but as I can assess, it is more. You see role of civil society organizations more as service providers, and your report saying that they are providing assistance to migrants and so on, but it is not partnership. Partnership means to be real involvement of civil society in the process of creation policy, strategies, and so on. How much civil society is consulted in the process of creation those documents, particularly if we are speaking on the prevention and when we are speaking on dealing with the causes of migration. Also, my colleague mentioned this coordination. To be honest, it between institutions, particularly those two institutions, transition period between those two subjects. For us, it's important. Ministry of Migrant Workers Protection, and Ministry of manpower. I think that we see that there is problem if migrants still are not sure which of those institutions are really responsible. It should be see as vision how to change that, and if there is need to change legislation, or if there should be some rule books adopted, but definitely public awareness. We are speaking on migrant seafarers and migrant fishers, particularly affected by this element. Also on trafficking in persons, some sources saying that measures have been established and some criminal cases were taken, but only punished those perpetrators in Indonesia without taking main perpetrators, those who are in some way coordinators of owners of all crime processes. And also, there is no enforceable or binding referral mechanism for trafficking victims in line with standards, particularly with Palermo protection. We are speaking on your law 21 from 2007. And also that the new legislation established and force structure in 2023, which is now, has had any coordination meeting or nexus voted between 2014 and 2025. But they are lost somewhere in processes, including the statute of limitation. It is concern when you have this period of 11 years, that you have cases open, maintained by courts, and on the end, some of them closed because of statute of limitation. It is bad message for victims, but at the same time, good message for traffickers. What is plan of in one way, in one system, to able to get a full picture of that? And I know that you answered yesterday on my question related to migrants born abroad, children born abroad, what means that there are several circumstances can improve that. But at the same time, that stigmatization of a mother's child, process with lack of interagency coordination remains weak, and administrative barriers are still present. They have not been removed, and definitely it is important to see what is planned to improve that process. Because they are citizens of your country. If mother citizens, logically, you must take care on future of those children. And I would like to conclude LIP legislation, institutions, strengthening institutional capacities and procedures. Indonesia has established legislation, but the implementation of legislation always show gaps and it will be shown in those responsible on state level, but also horizontal from state level to local administration. What is your plan really to reduce that unethical and inaccessible recruitment of migrant workers, and to reduce involvement of private actors? And I will stop here. Thank you once again for very constructive dialogue. It has been my pleasure to be rapporteur for your state, and I learned a lot from your report, but also from this dialogue.
Thank you very much, Madam Zemmour. I now give the floor to the member of the committee for additional questions, but dear colleague, if you can be precise in your questions, because we don't have enough time. I start with Babacar, Mr. Babacar, followed by Edgar Curso-Sosa, then Pablo Seriani, and Mr. Sharef, and our colleague Omaria.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I, in turn, would like to thank the delegation for their answers provided. And like my colleague, Mr. Kariwasam, I want to express my solidarity for the painful events that we've seen happening in Indonesia. I would like to refer to a number of questions. The general answer that I've sensed is that the delegation has been preparing in advance to try to prepare its legal arsenal to be in line with the recommendations. I think that the ratification of such instruments would encourage and bolster the legal arsenal. I referred to 3 groups of conventions that are particularly important because of the socioeconomic situation of Indonesia. And in reference to Labour Inspectorate, I had an answer about statistics, the number of labour inspectors and the geographical distribution. But generally, the convention that has been ratified by Indonesia refers to the need to have financial independence, because labour inspectorates are called upon to protect all employees, including migrant workers. I didn't hear an answer regarding the specific status vis-à-vis labour inspectors. I also had asked a question about Convention 189 on protection for domestic workers and Convention 190 on harassment. These conventions, Indonesia, migration conventions would be particularly relevant to ratify and implement. Obviously, I hail the efforts that have been made by Indonesia, but I believe that ratifying these 2 instruments, I firmly believe, would help to catalyze during one of the comments, because I also suggested ratifying the Convention on Social Security and Protection at Work. And this morning, when I was listening to one of the members of the delegation, I heard you say that Indonesia region. My question was really in connection with the transportability, or how rights can be transferred between one country and another, where Indonesian migrants are working. I didn't hear anything about Indonesia's intentions as to whether they would be establishing a framework for promoting health at work, because that would help to provide better protection for Indonesian migrants. That brings me to the end of my questions. I hope that was brief enough for you. Mr. Edgar Koso Sosa, please. Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'd like to thank you for all the information provided thus far. It's been well organised, valuable, and has helped us a great deal in fulfilling our mandate for international monitoring. I have a few questions and comments. First, allow me to refer to another 2 human rights committees within the treaty body system. Of course, we're looking at human rights in a cross-cutting way. So often we agree with what as a treaty body system, and here I'm referring to the Committee on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights and the Human Rights Committee that governs that you came before last year. I regret that it was such a short time. What was said, and I agree with them, for there to be a comprehensive law, for combating discrimination. I think this would really help on a number of laws that deal with discrimination in some aspects, but I think a specific law would be an excellent move. The Human Rights Committee also referred to the NHRI and what is the state's response. That would be one issue. And another issue that both committees, previously my colleague Prasad mentioned what's happening with Rohingya refugees. I think specifically this was raised by these two committees, and we're barriers for getting health care. Furthermore, in keeping with the Human Rights Committee, there are reports of hate speech, xenophobia, and racist speech that are target these this population group and Rohingya refugees that are living in camps around the Aceh region. I think this concern relates specifically to these people who are seeking shelter and they are subjected to discrimination. I'm going to refer to another one of the committees on an issue that I think is important. The Human Rights Committee indicated a point connected to the NHRI. You said that people with people with disability, or a person with disabilities who is part of the NHRI, who's no longer part of the NHRI because of personal issues, but the Human Rights Committee said that having a status in 2022, the accreditation committee said that the selection process and the replacement of members of Comasham needs to be stable and uniform. Appointment and replacement institution without complaint brought before group of Indonesian change. So by the government. It's important to the Human Rights Committee, and there was a report from 2022 where climate change and migration tell us what the government is doing vis-à-vis climate change, and in particular to as climate migrants. Indonesia, of course, is only too well aware of the impact of climate change with floods, landslides, the rising sea levels and so on. Please, the chair interrupts to ask if the speaker could conclude. Sorry to see what's happening with the flooding in Sumatra, with many, many having lost their lives. I must also respond to the answer about ratification of Articles 76 and 77 of our Convention, the optional protocol for individual communications. Now, it's good to have national institutions, and the NHRI, the National Commission Against Violence Against Women and for Protection of Children and with Disabilities, as well as complaints before the Ministry for Human Rights. But nevertheless, I would invite you to think about your position, because although those entities exist nationally, sometimes national interests are not always in step with the international arena. So I think that it's worth reflecting on your position so that you can see that on an international level, it's helpful to have a complementary entity to what exists currently. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much indeed to Mr. Corso Sosa. Mr. Seriani, please.
Sí, gracias.
Thank you, and a very good morning to one and all. I'd like to echo my colleagues' thanks to the Indonesian delegation for all of the information provided. Firstly, I'd like to ask about the implementation of the Presidential Regulation 125 of 2016, which regulates the reception of asylum seekers and refugees. Article 9 talks about the transfer of these people to detention centres, and then 24, a possible subsequent transfer to shelters. They wouldn't be detention centres. I would like to know a little bit more about the implementation of those articles and any specific therefore and what conditions are they held, and how many people are effectively transferred to shelters and have access to the various programmes under Article 24, 25 of that regulation. And then I have a set of questions related to migration. I'd like to know about the initiatives to bring the Law 2011 into line with the Convention. What is the state of play there? What expectations do you have about this initiative? Because, as mentioned yesterday, some years ago, the committee recommended to align that with the Convention to repeal all of the clauses that criminalise the entry and irregular stay, and also imprisonment sentences of up to 10 years when it comes to expulsion proceedings. The other points on irregular migration are the following. I understand that in November a new cooperation agreement was signed with Australia. This is a framework convention on security, and I'd like to know what the implications are in terms of migration, in terms of maritime cooperation as well. I understand that this is linked to trafficking and smuggling, but what other information can you give us as regards to the management of irregular migration in maritime areas? We had a dialogue yesterday with Mauritania about this, and our concern for many years now is the involvement in terms of rights and guarantees of certain migration procedures in the global north, the EU, North America and Australia. We've noted this with Sri Lanka and other countries in the region. We've talked about the implications of Australian policies, the detentions in Nauru and Papua New Guinea, and other concerns that we have, but also the Special Rapporteur on Migrants and others that have flagged in the recent decade about the serious impact of the Australian policy. So we'd like to have more information about that, please. Also, the initiatives that you are promoting as part of the Bali process in terms of irregular migration. This is a comprehensive policy, apparently, in that regard. Outcomes. Now, I don't know if you have statistics about irregular migration. You mentioned 47% of Indonesians who are irregular. I don't know what expectations you have about the measures that you're adopting, and measures that go hand in hand with countries, mass deportations of children, those people so that they're not constantly exposed to deportation even though they reside and work in Malaysia and might have a different response to a repressive one. And lastly, tied in with the migration statistics for Indonesia, in particular irregular migration and all of the risks involved, how are you linking that reality and the data of that reality with the sustainable development policies so that Indonesians can have, or so that migrants can have access to dignified work, and so that migration isn't a need given the situation they face? Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Sheriff, please. Thank you. Mr. Sheriff, please. I had a first time that's been said. I understand that you are concerned and going through a difficult situation. My condolences to you and the victims. This shows that your country is a victim of climate change, to the extent, if I'm not mistaken, that you have the famous capital well known by all, Jakarta, and this is exposed to climate change because of urbanization, sea level rises. So if I'm not mistaken, over the last summer, your president inaugurated a new capital. I couldn't really be able... Nusantara, I can't really pronounce the name correctly, my apologies. As far as I know, you're the first country in the world that has changed a capital because of climate change. Well, I won't go back to what my colleague Edgar said earlier. I'd like to ask one question. Since COP10 in Mexico, The issue of climate refugees comes up time and time again. But you know that there is no legitims and is because globally there are about 3 billion people who, in one way or another, are victims of climate change. The World Bank has put forward the figure of almost 3 billion who may be displaced by 2040. So there are a lot of figures out there. So I'd like to ask that question to know what you are doing, because you are very committed globally, and thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Mr. Umaria, please, you have the floor. Thank you. Many lives. There is a question that crops up over and over again in the report, in your state party report, in other countries in the region, and that is domestic workers. They are primarily women. There are a lot of issues surrounding exploitation. There are private individuals who renew a contract that's been signed in the country of origin when they arrive in the country of destination, but there's also various types of abuse by employers. And there are difficulties in monitoring all of that. I note that you have set up an oversight system will be assessed. It's all very well and good to have a system, to have a new law, but they need to be evaluated. Units are welcomed and hosted there, but for how long? Are they there to process the cases of complaints with employers? Or are they being hosted for a certain period of time? More of an explanation there. On the Human Rights Commission, that issue, institutional dialogue to be established. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Umaria. That's a new round of questions for you. So you have 15 minutes, and there